Hey guys, Gamer Dork again. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a news update, or just a little update of something I did. Last week, I actually pre-ordered and acquired Ninja Gaiden 3, which is an absolute piece of crap. I enjoyed the single-player content just for a quick run-through, but it's nothing I'm going to want to come back to anytime soon. And yet, from what I've gathered, multiplayer isn't exactly going strong right now. But I wanted to tell you guys, quickly, something I did today. I pre-ordered Prototype 2, which looks to be a far better game than Ninja Gaiden 3, even though that's not really saying much. And I managed to pick up a copy of Silent Hill Downpour on the PS3. Now, let me make something clear to you. Like I said, I don't have a capture device, so I really can't show you guys gameplay footage. Just looking through the instruction manual. But I can at least give you my thoughts on the time that I spent today playing this game. Now, before I actually get into some stuff about the game, I'd like to quickly tell you something that I've already just noticed is a bit of a letdown. The instruction manual. Here, you got your getting started section. You've got your controls. Warranty. And then you've got the same thing, and it's a really short instruction manual in 3 languages. I remember back in the day when instruction manuals were colorful, telling you a brief story, giving you background, showing you some enemies, but instruction manuals these days don't really have much content aside from the bare minimum. Depending on your game, I suppose that's a good or a bad thing. But thankfully, since this is a Silent Hill game with side quests, got myself a player's guide to help me out. You could call this cheating if you'd like, but really, sometimes it's a good thing to have. Let me just quickly go through a preliminary plot. Some Silent Hill games are standalone entries, others are prequels, others are tied to other games in the series. This game, while it does have a few Easter egg references to the previous games, it is a brand new entry in the franchise with no connections to the plots of its predecessors. You play as Murphy Pendleton in this game. I still gotta chuckle just a little bit at his last name. It's just sounds so fancy and snottish. My name is Mr. Pendleton, and I'm a rich little snob. That was irritating, I apologize. And Murphy is in prison for some reason, and on his way to be transferred to a new prison, your bus crashes into Silent Hill, and it's up to you to get out and figure out why you were sent to prison. Well, that's not part of the objective. It's something you'll learn about Murphy as the game progresses. Now, let me think. What else? A lot of fans complain about how Homecoming and Origins were a little too heavily focused on combat. And I can kind of see their gripes. In Origins, you could kill enemies with breakable weapons or your bare hands. In Silent Hill Homecoming, you don't have breakable weapons. You had a knife, a pipe/crowbar, and an axe. And they never broke. And you had multi-hit combos. I can see what they're getting at. To be fair, the first game I ever played was Silent Hill 2 on the PlayStation 2. And I was a teenager in high school at the time, or somewhere around there. And I was too scared to go through the first area. I got the first weapon, and I was so terrified of the game that I didn't play it until years later, once I got close to my college years. And the same thing happened with Silent Hill 3 and 4. I grew up without a PlayStation 1, so the first growing up, I was primarily a Nintendo gamer. And then when I heard that movies were moving towards DVDs, and the PlayStation 2 was also a DVD player, we got that. mean, hey, versatility is a good thing, but sometimes it can be too versatile and you just want a damn game system, but that's a topic for another day. I know that... And then I did play through the older Silent Hill games, and last year at the Wisconsin State Fair, I did snag a copy of the original Silent Hill. Now, I have a PS3, as you saw in the cover box, and even though you can download the original Silent Hill from the PlayStation 1 sections, that's not what I did. I actually got a physical PlayStation 1 disc at the Wisconsin State Fair. And, yeah, they were not exactly... Well, the controls were... The combat was pretty clunky. And I'm a follower of Yahtzee Croshaw, who's a game reviewer on EscapistMagazine.com. A very entertaining one. And he's a fan of the Silent Hill games, and he prefers that they not be very combat-intensive. I just noticed on my camcorder I have 6 minutes? Oh, I gotta get to the point. I'm just trying to explain something here. Basically, the first 4 games in the series were canon games. There's an arcade game and a Game Boy Color play novel that was only available in Japan. Or was it Game Boy Advance? I don't remember. And basically, when Origins was announced, that wasn't being made by Silent Hill's original developers, but still published by Konami, there were drastic changes in the combat got fans up in arms. Homecoming came out, same thing happened. But then Shattered Memories came out, and there was no combat at all. It felt childish in a way. Because the series went from one extreme to the other, really fast with no middle ground. Now, Silent Hill Downpour, the game I'm trying to review here, that game does have a bit more of a middle ground. There is still a bit heavy focus on action, but even the game says it's usually a good idea to run away. And, because degradable weapons return. But there's a twist. You can only carry one melee weapon and one firearm at a time. You can holster your gun, but if you unholster it or take your signature flashlight off from your hip to look around the area, you drop your melee weapon on the ground where you're standing, and then you pull out your flashlight or your gun. This to me seems like a really dumb idea. I mean, I don't really know how you could successfully sheath a really big fire poker or a battle axe, but if you can sheath a shotgun and a handgun and a nail gun, why can't you do that with a melee weapon like a wrench? Now, this does add a bit of challenge, and you still can use hand-to-hand combat, but from what I can tell, it does not kill enemies. And this is a more open Silent Hill game. It mostly takes place in some rural areas around Silent Hill that were mentioned, I believe, in previous games, but never explored. You don't return to any hospitals. You do return to a prison because, well, you're a prisoner. You're a convict. But you don't return to Brookhaven Hospital from Silent Hill 2 and 3. You don't go to the Lakeside Amusement Park. You don't explore any old areas of Silent Hill. These are new areas of Silent Hill unique to this game. And there's also side quests, like stopping the certain police cars, or freeing birds from cages. Those are just some side quests. And some side quests you can't even complete until you actually beat the game once on whatever difficulty. Now, rain is a very, very important mechanic in this game. If it starts to rain, you're going to be swarmed by enemies. And when that happens, you can either stay and fight, which is not advised, or you can knock one or two of them down onto the ground, wait, and bolt. Get the hell out of there. And then you have to go to someplace indoors until the rain stops. Then it should be safe for you to explore the town again with little monster encounters. Speaking of which, the monsters in this game are some of the least unimaginative in the series. They're mostly humanoid from certain, if you look at, depending on how you look at it. The Screamer, certain twitching enemies, these aren't exactly the most imaginative enemies around. And there is no Pyramid Head in this game. But one thing that hardcore Silent Hill fans got up in arms about was that Pyramid Head, a major villain from Silent Hill 2 who was relevant to the plot, showed up again in Silent Hill Homecoming and was barely mentioned again until the end or so of the game. Mostly for fan service. Well, unless you've actually beaten Silent Hill Homecoming, they did try to shoehorn him into the plot and make it plausible, but yeah, Silent Hill Homecoming was a rehash of Silent Hill 2, but here I am getting off track again. Anyway, what point was I going to make now? Basically... Hey, girl! My cat decided to join us. Basically, what I think I'm trying to get at is what I thought of Silent Hill Downpour. And I do enjoy this game much, much more than Ninja Gaiden 3. By a long shot. You do have a health meter in this game, though it's in the form of bloodstains and scars on Murphy's clothing and body, respectively. There's also a limit on how many weapons you have. You have a variety of weapons, but you're limited to how many you have at a time. There is also a limit to ammunition. It's just a challenging game. Now, bear in mind, I got it today, and I'm just going through the game on easy mode. I know that might seem kind of wussy, but sometimes if you beat a game once, you get the option to do things on other difficulties. So, my strategy is, I play the game on the easiest difficulty first, get some unlockables for the harder difficulties, and then go on from there. Now, another big thing about this game is that series composer Akira Yamaoka no longer is attached to Silent Hill. He's gone off to do other projects now. In his place is Daniel Licht. Now, I had not heard of him up until now, but he's actually the composer of the TV series Dexter. Now, I don't have cable in my house, so I've never seen an episode of Dexter. But I have been hearing a lot of his music on Let's Play walkthroughs online, and I don't believe he is better than Akira Yamaoka, his predecessor. I do believe he is good enough to stand on his own 2 feet. Now that I've gotten through what there are some things that I would like to warn you about that will draw the experience down for you. The game has a couple technical hiccups. The frame rate does skip and stutter from time to time. It does not slow down, it just stops and starts again. That does not mean your system crashed, it's just a technical fluke in the game's programming. Also, your flashlight is not one of those L-shaped flashlights like this that you attach to your shirt here. It's a handheld flashlight that you can attach to your belt, which you can actually remove to point around to look at the environment. That's not bad. What is bad is that if you have a melee weapon, you attach it to your belt, but if you want to take your flashlight and put it in your hand, your character will drop the weapon he's currently holding, and then you have to press the button again to pick up his flashlight. That, to me, is not a smart design choice. I could probably forgive it if you were using a two-handed weapon like a shovel or a pickaxe or a fire axe, but you could hold the weapon in one hand and your flashlight in your left, and then when combat starts, put the flashlight on your belt, and then start fighting. That, to me, was not the smartest design choice. Also, I've heard that this game also ends up using more jump scares than some of its predecessors did, because if it's one thing the early Silent Hill games did properly, it's atmosphere. Most of the time, the town was always coated in a thick fog, which does return. Unfortunately, the draw distance of the fog tends to shoot up and down from time to time. So there are technical problems that will hamper the experience for you a little bit. I do, however, recommend this game above Ninja Gaiden 3. And I think out of all the non-Team Silent Hill released video games, or the more recent, out of all of the more recent Silent Hill video games, Downpour is the strongest of all of them. My phone's ringing, so I'll make this a good time to cut off. I'm the Dork, and I remember the useless crap so you can get a life. See you next time!